It was described to us before the press conference today that the declaration of the Gilbert Goons being a street gang would come down, but with a twist. And Joe, that delivered. There was a twist that I didn't see coming here. We saw that Gilbert Goons, if you're unfamiliar, a loose-knit group of teenagers mostly, some very young adults, in the East Valley who started as a fight club and then started attacking innocent people, some of it premeditated, some of it spontaneous, and they basically turned this into just an assault club. As we see people, let's beat on them. It culminates with a couple of members, declared members of the Gilbert Goons, and a few others who have affiliations, beating Preston Lord to death in November. Well, in late October of last year, he passed away right around just before Halloween. And then the investigation kicked off, a week later, I think is the word on that one. Mm-hmm. So we get word that we've got a street gang. They're participating in gang activities. So we think, obviously, okay, now we're going to put, gang enhancements or something on the charges against those who have been charged with Lord's murder?
That's what we expected. And all of a sudden, I looked over at you as Chief Michael Solberg at this 1:30 press conference out in Gilbert said they are a hybrid street gang, the Gilbert Goons are, and he went on to explain the difference between a traditional gang and a hybrid gang. And then he said there's not enough evidence to charge suspects with participation in a gang.
Okay.
So the Gilbert Goons
are a gang.
Are a hybrid gang, which is a type of a criminal street gang.
Not a legal type for prosecution reasons, but it is something that's how the gang task force identifies them so that they can tell the difference between, say, the Bloods, the Crips, the was MS-13, whatever, and loose-knit gangs.
Right. But the gist of this, a hybrid gang, they exist for social media use, according to police. They're of various races, mixed races. They don't have a code of conduct necessarily. Members participate in multiple gangs, potentially. They work with rival gangs. They don't have specific symbols or colors, and they're always evolving or changing names. Whereas a traditional gang has defined leadership. They've got formalized rules, very specific colors and symbols, history behind the gang, and lifelong commitment.
Okay, so the difference here is that a gang is, the traditional street gang is more like a Fortune 500 company, and the hybrid gang is a ragtag group of lemonade sales. Is that fair?
Somebody at the press conference used an example involving a drug dealer selling drugs on the side of the street.
Well, that was a little... See, this is where it got confusing. It got clear as mud, right?
So let's try to walk through it.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
The example he gave was not the difference between a traditional gang and a hybrid gang. The example he gave about the person selling drugs on the street was, are they participating in gang-related activities?
Good point.
Okay.
And what I took away from it, you tell me if you got the same, was that is a very important clarification, Chris. He said that the gang member could sell drugs, and as long as he essentially takes the money that he gets from the drug sale and comes home and keeps it for himself, he would not be charged as a gang member.
Just a drug dealer.
Just a drug dealer because he did it all on his own. Now, if he took the money and gave it to, somebody higher up in the food chain or somebody else in the gang, then he could be charged as part of a street gang.
Right.
Is that clear enough?
It is.
But you're right. He did not get into the difference between street gang or hybrid gang and traditional gang.
With that example. What? Yep. So there was a follow-up to that one, which I thought was really good. The reporter at Channel 12, I think, asked the question about, what if you have 5 people who are in the same gang, all standing around the street corner, all selling drugs, and they all keep the money? Is that gang activity? And he said, well, we have to take a look at it.
Where do you think, it was Bianca Bono from 12 News, where do you think she was trying to go with that?
So what I...
Apply it to the Goons.
Are you telling me or are you answering the question? Because that's how I think it. Yeah, she's trying to apply that to the Goons.
Apply it to the Goons.
So if, and this is why she asked the question. She wanted to she was lawyering him, right? She was pushing him down this path so that he would say, well, if you have 5 people all participating in the same activity, even though they're all keeping the money, it's a gang doing it, right?
So she's trying to say if you've got 5 people who all know each other,
all selling drugs on the corner.
But in this case with the Gilbert Goons, it would be
5
beating up
people?
other kids.
Right.
And they all kind of hang out together. And if they do it separately.
Is that not furtherance? Because one of the indicators for a charging would be that it has to be in furtherance of the gang. Mm-hmm. If all 5 of them are participating in a gang activity because they're all in the gang, is that inherently furthering the mission of the gang?
Oh.
He kind of dodged the question.
Well, this whole press conference felt like an admission that the Gilbert Goons are a street gang, but for the last several months, the conclusion that I'd been expecting that we would get on a day like today is, oh, if they are a street gang, there will be additional charges.
Right, some sort of enhancement.
And it was like they kind of split the baby today, and they said, yeah, the Gilbert Goons are a criminal street gang, but they haven't done anything that merits additional charges.
Maybe this is a poor remembrance here, but do you remember when James Comey had the big press conference to talk about the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails initially? It was the summer of 2016, and he said,
vaguely, yes.
We found that she was using an unsecured server. We found that emails were leaked. We found this stuff. And my mouth was agape as I was watching that press conference, and I went, oh my gosh, they're going to charge her with this. And then he said, but we don't find sufficient evidence to charge her. And I went, what? Whoa. Felt very much like this.
Yeah.
We found sufficient evidence to say that the people who are affiliated with these ongoing beatings and assaults of innocents in East Valley are, in fact, a criminal street gang. But we will not charge them as such.
Whereas everything leading up to today gave me the indication that if they were charged with if they were charged as a criminal street gang, that there would be additional charges. And apparently that is not the case.
One more thing here before, and we'll invite in our legal expert to hash this out with us a little bit here as our what's the why. One more thing that struck gosh, my head was spinning when he did it again, is that Solberg, the chief of police there in Gilbert, he's done it before, and he was lambasted for it when he said, well, we didn't know that the Gilbert Goons were going on because nobody told us that they were the Gilbert Goons, right? So he was expecting the victims to identify the gang.
He said that they did not know until Preston Lord's death, or until Preston Lord was beaten, died 2 days later, they had not heard the term Gilbert Goons.
He's sticking to that. So he says there was not a mention of the Gilbert Goons until Preston Lord was murdered, and then they were flooded with information on the gang. So
what does that tell you?
It tells me that they're got their head in the sand. That's what it tells me. That everybody around knew that the Gilbert Goons were happening. The kids knew it. By kids, I mean teenagers, young adults. It was all over social media because we know they were posting their beating videos on Snapchat and on other social outlets. And the police department was clueless.
It's funny because he also says that they've been looking into, what does he call it? Group teen violence? Was that his term today?
Yeah, something
We've been
of that
looking into group teen violence in the East Valley since before Preston Lord's death. He made that clear, right?
Yes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
But then
we didn't know.
He tries to backtrack, and we didn't know about the Gilbert Goons until after Preston Lord's death.
If this were not youth violence, if this were bank robberies, let's say that we've got a bank that gets robbed on Baseline in Gilbert. Then we've got a bank that gets robbed on
Alma
Warner.
School. Okay.
Right, in Warner. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think Alma School is Gilbert. It's close. But okay. But then you got another one that's on Power Road, right? Yep. So you've got a number of bank robberies. And the witnesses say, I was so scared. And the bank robber was wearing a black mask with a red dot on it. And you go, oh, well, that's interesting. Black mask, red dot. And then the person who gets robbed on Southern is a black mask, red dot. Or on whatever road, right? I guess Southern's Mesa. And you go to another one, and they go, well, this person was on Higley. Well, they robbed your bank? Black mask, red dot. That's weird. And then finally, there's a bank robbery where the security guard gets killed, and they go, yeah, it was a bank robber, black mask, red dot. And he says, oh, okay, well, that's an interesting fact. We'll keep an eye out for him. And somebody finally comes forward later and says, oh, hey, there's the red dot robbers are running around. He's like, red dot robbers? Why didn't anyone tell us? I don't understand not only the incompetence, but why he keeps bragging about his own incompetence. I just don't get it.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.